Potential Career Planning is a initiative of ACH Management Consultant, wherein we actually work closely with senior, mid to senior professionals to understand their problems, to understand their needs, and try to address them and help them grow professionally as well as personally. And we want them to have a happy and satisfying life on personal level as well as at the office as well. And we do so by customized one-on-one personal mentoring and training from very seasoned professionals who have actually defined the leadership throughout their career. There are some former MDs and CEOs of big MNCs across India. So this is about HPCP. And coming down to this particular webinar, we actually have started this series sometime back, like 2-3 months back. And we actually gather on every Saturday to discuss about various topics and certain aspects that some of the professionals have brought us and they want us to talk about this. So we have just thought of this idea and we just try to get some industry professionals onto this particular platform on Saturday and try to connect with them so that we, all the concerns and all the aspects are covered, and the clear picture is also actually finalized in the mind of middle management or senior management professional as well. And for today, the topic is the leader's role in particularly building the organization's culture. And we have particularly thought of the name of Mr. Vikas Sunkad because of his particular career trajectory and because of his roles and functions that he have been into. So basically, Vikas ji has spent his 18 or 19 odd years into the Coke, I believe, and then 8 years into Britannia. Before that, he was into the Britannia. After that, 18 or 19 years into the Coke, and then he further went on to collaborate with startups to chalk out their growth strategy in a very, very sustainable way, because he believes that startup fails like 4 or 5 years down the line, and then there is certain lag that he feels. So he just collaborate and become the partner with the startups across India through his venture called SunJosho Ventures, based out of Bangalore. And this is a brief. Apart from that, he has been an executive mentor to senior professionals and CXOs, and he is also associated with HPCP. And I'm very privileged personally because I have been working with him for last 6 or 7 months. So great learnings working with him, Sandesh, and many other people. So yeah, great, sir. Welcome here, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure. I am seeing some familiar faces here, so that's very good. And there are some new people also, so it would be great to know more people. So today's topic is very interesting, and it is about organization culture. And I, while I work with startups and growth stage companies, I also do a lot of teaching, for senior level professionals. And leadership is something which I have taught a lot to senior industry people. And this aspect about culture, this leadership is something which comes up very often. Many a times what we see is people grow from technical roles into managerial roles. So people have joined organizations because of their technical competency, and over a period of time they keep doing well at what they are doing, and then they grow into larger roles, and then they take on leadership roles or managerial roles. And the transition from being an individual contributor to a leader of people is not easy for many people. And while organizations have their own goals and their own culture, but typically what we see is the culture is always also many a times very local in nature, and it is determined by the manager And hence, this whole idea about developing managerial and leadership competencies becomes extremely important amongst people. So I do a lot of that. So what I have done is, along with the help from the HPCP team, we have tried to put a broad outline of the presentation. But honestly, I would be extremely interested in keeping this conversation very, very interactive in nature. I will put the presentation up for the sake of it being a placeholder for conversation. Okay, so that's what I will do. But I would request, that we have this conversation in an extremely interactive fashion. So, is my screen visible to all of you?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay. So, एक सेकेंड अभी दिखा दूँ पूरा स्क्रीन ही शेयर कर देते हैं अभी आया है क्या
Yeah.
मेरा स्क्रीन दिख रहा है
हाँ sir. Presentation is
Okay.
also live.
Yeah, visible.
Now we can see.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, my request to all of you is to keep it as interactive as possible. And I don't want it to be like a one-way street where I keep talking and all of you just keep listening to me. So my question to all of you is, what do you all think is culture? Really speaking, if I were to ask the audience कि कल्चर को अगर आपके भाषा में बताना है तो आप क्या बोलेंगे एंड आई होप यू आर ओके इफ आई कीप इट हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग
Sure sir.
सो कल्चर अगर मैं आपके लैंग्वेज में पूछूं तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक इज कल्चर कैन एनीवन जस्ट टेक अ
Your
शॉट
your
एट
your PPT
Yes.
is not visible now.
Yeah. So can I answer?
यस सर यस
Culture, according to me, as it is in your family life or social life, in organizations life also, culture, I understand it as a way of life, the way the organization lives. And what do you mean by organization? Organization is a set of people. So how those people live, behave, work, collaborate, all that together makes a culture in the organization. That's my simple definition of culture.
how people lead behave and operate that's according to is culture anyone else wants to
Yeah,
tell what
because I think it is more of an expected behavior pattern or expected conduct of business, your individual connect, and that expectation is culture that is normally set by the top leadership, and then drill it down to the bottom level. And a uniformity in that behavior, the do's and don'ts of how to conduct the business, how to behave with the team is what the culture is all about.
so according to you culture is basically set at the top and it is more about expectation right because this is how we expect everyone should behave and that is drilled from top down so according to you that is culture okay and
Yeah.
Gaurav what about you
Yeah, so sir, I think that culture is something which the organization, like the setting is done in such a way which kind of controls the human behavior, human interaction within the organization. So it is more of a setting which the organization kind of prepares, and that is the way they want the interactions to be. They want the particular the way of working of the organization.
exactly so you are saying that it is how the organization behaves so if I were to anyone else wants to share their thoughts before I move forward anyone else okay so I think very nicely said so if I were to just talk about computer, right? So if you look at computer, there is a hardware and then there is a software, right? So software is like the culture. It is there, but you can't see it, right? Hardware is something which you can see, like the building, the office, the the way the people. That is basically the hardware part of the organization, something which you can see. But the software, which is the operating system, is something which you can't see, but it actually governs how the computer really operates. So if I were to draw an analogy between an organization culture and a computer software, I think it would be an apt analogy. So with that, what I will do is I will jump into the presentation and I will keep calling you guys for sharing your thoughts and stuff like that. Okay. So thanks a lot, folks, for sharing your ideas though. Okay, so this is what we are trying to cover today broadly, and why culture matters. Leaders as culture architects, building trust and safety. What is the role of mid and senior management roles? Because if, like Anil said, that culture is driven from the top. So, what is the role of people in between? How they can help in shaping and influencing the culture of the organization. What is the role of coaching, in building the right organization culture? And then we'll look at some success stories, challenges, trends, and then we'll have some reflection as well. So, the first point I want to share about is defining organization culture. Is culture is equal to shared values, mindsets, and behaviors which are driving performance. I think every organization has defined its organizational values, right? So different organizations have got different values. So people call things like integrity. Some people will call things like customer centricity. Like if you look at a company like Amazon, right? So there are some, Amazon has got its principles. And one of the topmost principles which Amazon talks about is customer obsession. How many of you have heard about it? How many of you have heard about one of Amazon's core values called as customer obsession?
Yeah, I heard about
And
it.
yeah, so what happens is when the company clearly articulates this value, and they expect that everybody in their team embodies this value, then what happens is, and at every forum they are trying to reinforce these values. What happens is people start getting conditioned to think in that way. "Ki, boss, I have to obsess about my customer. I have to really ensure that I take care of my customer and their problems and ensure that my customer is always delighted." So what happens is when you walk into organization like Amazon, the culture in that company will be, you will see that everybody is focusing a lot on customer, because customer focused culture है यहाँ पे. ऐसा निकल के आएगा, आपको क्लियरली पता चलेगा कि हाँ भाई, सब लोग कस्टमर के ऊपर ध्यान देते हैं और उनको पता है कि अगर कस्टमर सेटिस्फाइड या डिलाइटेड रहेगा तो बिजनेस बहुत बढ़िया चलता रहेगा. So this will be a common theme that will run through all the people who is working in that company, because the company has made this particular point extremely important, right? So that decides the culture. So shared values. The other thing that I am going to talk about is, mindset. Now I will give you another example of this company which we all know about, which is Apple, right? So, if you had seen some of Steve Jobs' interviews while he was still alive, right? And when the company was already very big, he used to talk about, that Apple is still the biggest startup in the world. So he was telling, in one of the interviews that we actually operate like startups, which means that We are not governed by too many hierarchies. We work in teams. We believe in collaboration, and we try to, solve problems. Again, there is a lot of focus around innovation and how for that innovation to happen, it is important for a company like Apple, which is an extremely innovation driven company, to have a setup like a startup, which means that they don't have too many hierarchies. They always work in project teams. They don't have too many boundaries for communication and stuff like that. So what happens is, when the people at the senior most level, like Steve Jobs, when he calls out the fact that it is important for a company like Apple to have the mindset of a startup, and the reason is also very well articulated, because they are an extremely innovation driven company, and an innovation driven company will not have cannot afford to have, rather, a lot of hierarchies, bureaucracy, slowing them down. Instead, what they need is seamless flow of ideas, people collaborating effortlessly, people bouncing off ideas, people trying things out. So that mindset is again somewhere, defined at that level, and it percolates down, and everybody kind of embraces it. So when you, at least in Steve Jobs' days, nowadays I don't follow Apple as much I used to follow earlier, when Steve Jobs was around. Now I know they still keep doing very good job and stuff like that. But the thing that happened during Steve Jobs' days with Apple was unbelievable in terms of the innovation, the disruption that they created. And it is all, the mindset of working in a particular way. Now, if you walk into that office 10, 12 years back when Steve Jobs was still alive, you will find that this is the culture of working, कि वहाँ पे लोग seamlessly काम करते हैं, boundaries नहीं होती है, innovation पे बहुत ज़्यादा focus होता है, नई चीज़ों पे काम करने के ऊपर उनको हमेशा ये रहता है, etc., etc. So that is again somewhere, defined by the culture. That mindset defines the culture. The third example I want to give you about the behaviors driving performance, right? So, like I have worked in Coke, right, for almost 18 years. And one of the things that, the company talks a lot about is the ability to execute in the marketplace, right? So they take a lot of pride in the fact that they have some great in-market execution. And then they keep talking about it. They keep, highlighting the importance about it. They keep highlighting the success stories about it. They are able to link, that doing some of these activities consistently, how it has helped in delivering greater performance, which has helped people in their careers. So, you are able to link, certain ways of doing business to outcomes, and outcomes to people's personal career growths and stuff like that. Then that kind of drives some of the culture of those organizations. So these are few examples I wanted to share with you in terms of how, culture gets shaped in the organizations by these three statements. One is the shared values, the mindsets, and behaviors which are driving performance. And all these things, somewhere become embedded in the way people behave, in the way people act, in the way people do business. And that's what they say, right? It's what people do when no one's watching. You don't want someone to come and supervise you, to see that you are doing what you are supposed to do. Instead, it becomes your DNA. It becomes how you operate. It becomes the way you deliver results in your organization. That's what culture is. Any thoughts, people, before I go forward? Because I wanted to share some real examples here with you so that you guys can understand what each of these points mean. Because values play a very important role. I think we have to, talk about the values a lot. And if you really, care about the values, and if everyone in your organization cares about the values, then that definitely goes in embedding some cultural nuances of your organization. Mindsets are again the kind of things that you're talking about and doing on an everyday basis that defines your mindsets. And behaviors are showing a line of sight between doing things in a particular way and showing how it translates into results for the business and for individuals also, because people are there in their career to do well for themselves. So if you are able to show them that this behavior translates into not only good results for the company but for themselves, which means that they are doing improving on their career status, they are moving forward, etc., etc. So all these things together kind of help in driving the culture. So I'll just take a 10 to 15-second pause to see if anyone has got any point of view or any story. Would be happy to hear it.
The customer
Samir.
orientation in MRF, which is one of the company where I worked for 13, 14 years.
Okay.
For a customer who has been charged a bit extra, 50 rupees extra on a motorcycle tires, and the dealer, when or during an internal audit or something, they came out and the customer has been overcharged by 50 rupees. They made the dealer to go 400 kilometers away to his hometown and given this 50 rupees and taken an apology letter from this to reinstate motorcycle supply to the dealer.
Wow.
So this is a very small thing, and this information has been shared across channels, and it'll be there in the newsletters.
No,
And the
it's
happiness
an
of the
amazing,
customer.
Yeah.
And the value of the actual customer centricity, or whatever you do, you should do only for the customer, and dealer is only a means to reach out to the customer. So that has been the real belief, and they walk the talk even now.
Fantastic. I think sometimes what happens is, they say that if you allow a bad behavior to exist in an organization, it corrupts those who are trying to tread the right path. Okay? So identifying these what do I say, cases of bad behavior in the organization and taking the right exemplary action. It is not just an action you've taken an exemplary action. It became an example for others, because somebody had to go 400 kilometers to return 50 rupees is a lot. It is setting an example, that this is not going to be acceptable to us. As much as it is important, to reward good performers, sometimes it becomes important to set the guardrails and say what is not acceptable in our culture. That is also very important. So, for example, if you go to a country, I always give this example to people. If you go to a country like Singapore, right? Why do you think they are so disciplined? Because they have very clearly set rules and regulations and systems in place whereby they know clearly what is not acceptable in their country and things which are not acceptable. And if people are found to be doing those unacceptable things, they are penalized. And people know that there is no escape. And then people suddenly start falling in line and they know that this is the right way to do things. Yeah, that's a great example, Anil. Thank you. Yes, Samir.
You talked about Amazon's customer obsession as a core value. A friend of mine had a very good experience on that. So I think 3-4 years back, I think his query resolution was taking longer than usual. So he wrote an email to Jeff Bezos and he got a call within 2 hours. And that customer service representative, he kind of touched based on that it got escalated to Jeff. So I think that's how efficient they are. And there was that kind of communication loop, feedback loop and mechanism to kind of route it to the right level in order to get it resolved in a time-bound manner. So I think, yeah, I mean, he really embodies that value and manifests that in his behavior, So.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Ideally, sometimes what happens is, uh, the culture which is laid at the top, for it to percolate to the lowest level, in this case, it could be a customer service executive or something like that, and what and percolate it to that level and making them understand what it really manifests into is a challenge for many organizations. So they really have to train the people on the front line and explain to them that this value, when it comes to life, it means so and so. A customer obsession for a customer service representative, it manifests into a situation where a customer call should not go unanswered, or it should be responded to within 24 hours or whatever it is. So in the first place, if you ask me, the need for that friend to write to Jeff Bezos shouldn't have happened. Okay, but it has happened, and that also points to a very important fact, that there is a gap between the stated values, and for people to really understand that what does that value really manifest into for me, वो समझ में नहीं आता है लोगों को. सो वो अपना काम करते रहते हैं, बट जबकि for Bezos, like, customer obsession is like super important, and hence a customer who has bought a 300 or 400 rupees worth of item also gets responded by him, जबकि वो बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स की चीजों में डील कर रहा है, ट्रिलियंस में डील कर रहा है, लेकिन उसके लिए कस्टमर ऑब्सेशन इतना जरूरी है कि एक 400 या 500 या 1000 रुपए का सामान खरीदने वाले को भी वो उतना भाव देगा बेसिकली, जबकि ये काम कस्टमर सर्विस रिप्रेजेंटेटिव का होना चाहिए था. लेकिन ये गैप हमको ये बताता है कि कई बार ना हम अपने जो सामने फ्रंट लाइन पे होते हैं, वी आर नॉट एबल टू गिव देम that enough hand holding and investment of our time to really make them understand what does this mean, for them to bring this value to life. How does it, what that culture stands for. So that is the gap in my view that many organizations struggle with.
I agree. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sandeep. Any other thoughts before I move forward? Okay, so let's look at the next point, right? So why culture matters. It drives retention, innovation, customer experience, and performance. Companies with strong cultures outperform peers by 20 to 30%. So if we look at this example, right? So many a times people say, here, I want to join this company क्योंकि इसका culture बहुत अच्छा है, right? And people may not like to join some another company, जिसका culture is not good. So what does it really mean is, how people experience their work. That is what it means. And I'll give you a very simple example, that caught everybody's attention 7 to 8 months back, right? So there is this founder who put an ad in the LinkedIn, right? And he said that I want to hire a executive assistant for myself. So this ad was put by Dipinder Goyal from Zomato. And he said that I am not going to give you salary for doing this job. Instead, you will have to pay Zomato company 20 lakh rupees to get into this job, because this job is one of the most high impact jobs, and the people or the person who comes and does this job will be exposed to some of the cutting edge technology, some of the latest things in startup world, what it means to run a founder's office. And this particular announcement that happened on LinkedIn created a huge storm. It went viral, and there were crazy number of people who were bashing Dipinder. But the surprising thing was, apparently later on he posted again on LinkedIn saying that he received, I think, more than 1,000 applicants for this one job. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can someone imagine getting into a job for 1 year and pay 20 lakh rupees to the company to do that job. Why people have done it? Why have people done it? Eventually, they went out and hired somebody and they didn't charge that person 20 lakhs. Instead, they gave out a 20 lakh salary or whatever salary they chose to give out to that person. But the story that I'm trying to tell you is when people apply for roles, what are they really looking at, according to any one of you? Why do people apply for jobs and what do they really look for? Any thoughts, anyone here? And why do you think 1,000 people chose to apply for a job for which they had to pay the company 20 lakh rupees instead of receiving a salary from them? Any thoughts?
Value
Yeah,
addition, value addition in experience, exposure.
yeah. Anyone else? Value addition, experience, exposure. Anyone else?
I think growth prospects, and the chance to work with, your peers, your peer group, and basically the exposure which Anilji mentioned.
Yeah. Growth prospects, chance to work with some great peer group. What else? और क्या हो सकता है वजह, according to you?
He wanted to get into entrepreneurship, so he wanted to have to experience the life of an entrepreneur.
Yes, entrepreneurial experience, freedom to do things, experience, how to scale things up. Yes, good thoughts. What else? I want to hear from some more people who have not spoken so far.
So as I
Anyone?
see it, because from Dipinder Goyal, this was a marketing gimmick because it got his company the publicity that he would not have got even after spending a few crore rupees. And this was not actually an advertisement for his EA post. It was an advertisement for Zomato. That see, here is a company which is so cutting edge and doing so much interesting stuff that people would love to work for it. Now, what we also need to understand is the 1,000 people who applied were not the 1,000 people who had to give, pay for the student loans. People only who had 20 lakh, they applied for it. Others just gave up. Yeah, possible nahi hai. Actually, this is an example of a very bad culture where I'm using some kind of an HR related lever to do marketing for the company and not even for the job I'm advertising. So actually, I do not see this as a good example of Zomato having a good culture. In fact, it gives the opposite vibes that here is a company one should never ever join because the CEO comes down to such cheap gimmicks to market his company. So that
Okay.
is my take on this.
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
different view, if I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
speak. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
So the way I see it is, Zomato is a leader in QSR aggregator space. Number one, it's a quick mover and it has a huge runway growth plan. Uh, it has a unique value system which the promoter is building in house. Uh, he has put this 30 lakh. One is as an obstacle, or it's a test. The people, one is they understand that what they will learn with Zomato would be much more than 30 lakhs and they'll recover probably 2-3 crores worth of learning. Number one. Second is when a promoter puts his money in the game, he also wants a top leadership, other people who are equally understanding the money, importance of money and ability, risk taking ability, that are they ready to lose the money or are they really serious by joining Zomato? Because you have a lot of people from IIMs and other top colleges who join companies and in 1-2 years they just move out. So this is also kind of a commitment test. Are you also serious as an employee? Because, for example, the company where I work, it's a very promoter-driven company, and sometimes the promoter shouts at me, saying, Deepak, will you invest your money? Because I am losing money because of these reasons. So that's the kind of passion and commitment. I don't know whether it's a bad attitude or something, but then that's the pain which every promoter goes through while setting up and launching a business, and you'd like to have similar people to mindset with him. That is my view.
No, great points and great thoughts. Actually, the reason why I have brought this controversial example here is to actually have a debate with all of you. And this controversial example teaches us a lot. What it teaches us is I'm not going to judge Zomato basically here. Clearly, that was not my idea. My idea was to discuss the 1,000 people who applied, you know, and I'm not going to again, what do I say, comment on their financial health and stuff like that. But the fact that 1,000 people applied tells us that people look at things which are also intangible in nature, because the culture, they are willing to put money on the table and say that I want to get into a culture where innovativeness, entrepreneurship, ability to give me freedom to do my things, those things are valued. See, and why in today's times these things become important, because we are now going to increasingly recruit more and more new age people in our workforce. And it is very important for all of us to really figure out what inspires and motivates them, and what is the kind of culture we need to create so that we not only recruit them, right? Because recruitment is easier, क्योंकि किसी को जरूरत है आ जाते हैं, लेकिन बाद में कुछ अच्छा मिलता है तो भाग जाते हैं, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. So not only recruit them, but we also act like a magnet and retain them. So the point I'm trying to make is people who see Zomato as an innovator, forward-looking, tech-savvy, entrepreneurial, or even intrapreneurial kind of an organization, right? They will put money on the table and say कि हाँ बॉस, मैं अपने 20 लाख लगा के यहाँ पे काम करके ऐसी चीजें सीखूंगा जहाँ कहीं सीखने को नहीं मिलती. सो कल्चर जो है ना, वो इन चीजों को बढ़ावा देता है कि लोगों को आप कैसे नई नई चीजें सिखाएं, हाउ यू आर एबल टू क्रिएट द राइट kind of environment for your people, so that things like innovation, entrepreneurship, tech savviness, all those things which matter in today's time is driven by that culture. So if you have that culture, you will also get people to join you even at a lower salary. I'm not saying that all of you should start going and asking people to give you money to join your company. But many a times, it boils down to your negotiation and stuff like that. But if you have the right culture, you will have an additional card in your hand, to when you're negotiating with your what do I say, potential new hires, and that can also act as a big chip on the block for you. Okay, so this is an important point I wanted to share with all of you. My idea was not to, of course, judge Zomato and stuff like that. So many of us here are from the FMCG and FMCD context, and I think in India in today's times we are seeing a lot more competitive intensity, right, in the FMCG and FMCG space. So in this context, it's very important for your organizations to have that culture which promotes agility, which promotes empowerment of team, which promotes product innovation, which promotes go-to-market speed, brand trust, and things like that. We are seeing a lot of new players coming and doing disruptive things in the marketplaces. So I will give you some examples of new players. So for example, in the personal care and skincare category, right, we saw Minimalist, which came up a few years back, and then they created some great products in such a crowded marketplace, and they were able to create a disruption. And they were acquired, of course, by Unilever. Then I would like to give you one more example of a startup. And many of these disruptions are startup driven, but also family owned businesses are also catching up. So one more example of startup I want to give in the consumer electronic space is Atomberg Fans, which did a fabulous job few years back, and that they disrupted a market like ceiling fans, which was absolutely non, what do I say, the products were not non-differentiated category. So they came up with technology, which was a BLDC and, having remote control, sleek fans, very different. And then they created a lot of, disruption in the market. So these are some examples where startups have done a great, what do I say, impact. Even Mama Earth is a great example in my view, wherein Varun and Ghazal. Varun is an ex-Coke guy. How they founded a company, which was toxin free for babies and created a differentiation. All these startups start with the idea that they find a gap in the market, and then they go and create a business model around that opportunity and end up taking a good market share. Family businesses are also catching up. The original disruptor, I would say, in the FMCG space at least, has been Chick, right? The cabin care company, which is Tamil Nadu based, Mr. Ranganathan, wherein they were the first one to introduce the sachet concept in shampoo, the Chick shampoo at 1 rupee, where they were able to really identify, that the rural consumer is also aspirational and they want a similar experience, but they may not necessarily have the money in their pocket to buy a larger bottle of shampoo. But for them, if Sunday happens to be a special day and they want to take a head bath, they don't mind spending a rupee and buying one sachet, and just having that experience. So they were the original disruptor, I would say. Plus, I think companies like Imami and Dabur, all these companies are also kind of doing well in today's times. Plus, companies like what do you say, Wadilal, all these Indian FMCG companies are also trying to catch up. The point I'm trying to make is uh, innovation is going to be a very crucial aspect for every business to continue to grow. If you are not going to innovate, then you will be left behind because someone else will come and innovate at a much faster pace. And the consumer profile is also changing, primarily because of two things. One is, the consumers are becoming more global and hence more aspirational, thanks to the social media, what do I say, penetration. And the second thing is, the consumers are also getting more affluent, and we are getting new breed of young customers who are more experimental. They want to try new things out, and for that they will not necessarily always go to the brand. I'll give you another great example, a personal example of an innovation in shoe category. So there is a brand by the name Comet which has been launched by young entrepreneurs, in Bangalore here, and it's an amazing brand with very good quality shoes, and they are basically talking about casual footwear, sneakers kind of thing, in a very good price point. They are not very expensive also, but maybe 2,000-3,000 rupees kind of a price point. And they are beating a lot of the existing players very nicely. The brand name, logo, everything is good. So I'm saying that, and they are very young boys, they are maybe 30 or age group boys who have created this business already, 300, 400 crores of turnover and stuff like that. So people are going to innovate, and existing incumbent organizations, if they are not going to create a culture wherein they are not going to encourage people to try things out, to fail fast but fail small. You heard this concept, right? Fail fast, but I would add one more word to it: fail fast but fail small. Don't fail fast and fail big, because that can be catastrophic. So organizations which have this culture of experimenting things and trying things in a small way, failing quickly, discarding the bad ideas and moving ahead and trying more ideas and getting the right idea which can be scaled will continue to win. But it calls for that culture wherein you don't look down upon failure as bad. Encourage innovation, you encourage teamwork. So these are some of the things, which become, an underlying factor, which is the culture of the organization. So any thoughts, folks, on that? I've shared a lot of examples of people who are disrupting because in this fast changing market because of some of the aspects of culture that they have. Any thoughts? Anyone who has not spoken so far would like to share something? Everyone is silent, so either they are agreeing to my points or they are brooding on my points, or it's an indication I move forward. No thoughts, folks? Okay, let me move. So the next point I wanted to talk about is leaders as culture architects. So culture is not just HR's job. Every manager and leader shapes it. Leaders influence through vision, modeling, and reinforcement. So many a times, we think कि यार कंपनी का कल्चर मतलब एचआर का काम है, वैसा नहीं है. आई थिंक कंपनी के जो कल्चर के रियल कस्टोडियंस है वो बिजनेस ही होता है. HR enable करता है. If you have the right, what do I say? HR will enable it to the right, what do I say, reward programs, recognition, having the right, knowledge gathering or knowledge management systems. All those things HR can do. HR can help, in shaping up the values and ensuring, the values are communicated consistently. HR can also help in terms of understanding the gaps in the organization, right? In terms of which part of the organizations are not embracing the values fully, and maybe helping them kind of onboard the journey, maybe conduct the right kind of trainings, refresher programs, communicate the values so that everybody understands it from top to bottom. All those things HR can do, no doubt about it. But as business people, every manager in the organization owns the culture. So my question to all of you is, what kind of culture do you have in your team? How are you, what kind of culture are you creating in your team? Do you have an open culture? क्या लोग खुल के बात कर सकते हैं? कई बार ना लोग मुंह खोलने से भी डरते हैं, right? They find it, they feel that if they say something, they may get targeted, and that kind of completely shuts you down from any feedback, anything, and that creates what is called as the blind spots, and blind spots can create huge problems for anyone. So my question to you is, if you were to do an honest introspection about yourself, what kind of culture are you creating in your team? Can anyone want to share your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's open culture, and every opportunity is given to everybody to critically think and contribute before taking a decision. And whenever we are taking a decision, it will be a consolidated view of a pragmatic thought on all the views, cumulative views. And once it is the decision is taken, then every will be aligned with it. So it's
thank you.
an open and transparent.
Excellent. It's really good to know, Anil, that you are following an open and transparent culture.
And anybody can become a devil's advocate.
Oh, fantastic point. I think a great thought. I'm going to hold on to this point, and I'll come back to this point after I listen to one or two more people. So Anil said that anybody can become a devil's advocate. That is so powerful thought, and we will come back to that point because it can become quite a revolutionary idea if it is used properly. Any other points from people? An honest assessment of how do you see uh, culture within your own team? Folks, I wanted this to be a little bit of an interactive thing. So please unmute yourselves and say something. Don't just keep silent, because that is not going to help. And this is a safe forum. It is not, nobody is going to assess you, judge you, or appraise you. Your appraisal is not dependent on this. You are here because you have come to learn, right? And the best learning happens when you're open. Be candid, do share. Otherwise, your time of 1.5 hours will not give you that kind of a return. So my sincere suggestion to all of you is try and share some thoughts. I will keep speaking. मेरे पास बहुत कंटेंट है और बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है बात करने की, लेकिन आइडिया वो नहीं है, सिर्फ सुन के नहीं होता है. The one of the good ways of learning is through introspection, reflection, and speaking out.
Yeah,
There is something in pyramid, but I talk about. Yeah, Deepak.
sorry, yeah. Yeah. So what struck me is what I have understood is, generally, probably in the context. So we are talking. What I've seen is, sir, your views, examples. These are probably multinational organizations or very evolved Indian organizations which are on fingertips. But if you take the total number of companies listed or above 1,000 crores, you would find them mainly promoter run, and promoter run are controlling most of the business in India. Okay. So there, what I have seen is, though whatever they say, there is something else as a vision, and some in practice there is slight difference in execution. So, like for example, MRF is said, though Indian promoter-run company, may be a very well-run company and good promoters and this, but generally what I have seen is promoters are not so keen on letting their power go. They want to maintain a control. The authority is not given freely for the even top people to take calls.
Yeah.
So, for example, I worked with one or two companies, and I have seen this, that even within my team in HR, if I want to do something, the promoter may get involved and has his views, which will not work. But in the end, I am responsible for delivery. So those
Hmm.
kind of I don't know what to say, double standards, or a lack of understanding of these modern
Right.
behavior, because now these promoters are in their 50s and early 60s. So their children are coming in who are progressive. But
Hmm.
what I have seen is, across Indian market, this trend is there, and there is something which they say in value mission and value thing, but yes, something else happens in
Yeah.
the office, and there are double standards. So in India, I think we have become slightly more comfortable in accepting double standards and understanding and dealing with this. MNCs are a bit more clearer on terms. So this is my view. So my
No,
thoughts.
I
So
agree with you. I agree with you. And India, actually, most of the world, is driven by family managed business today. And some of the MNCs are, yes, have now come to a stage where they have divested so much that they have become very, very public. But I agree to some supremely keen observations that you made, and I can't deny what you're saying. The only point I'm kind of wanting to highlight, or a perspective that I want to build here, is that every family-owned business goes through a maturity curve. And I think in Indian context, this maturity, what do I say, movement is slightly slow. It takes more time, which means that the first generation entrepreneur would do everything themselves. So they would actually think two times even to spend any money. The second generation entrepreneurs if they are running the business, they are running it a bit differently, and their involvement is lesser of a hands-on compared to the first generation entrepreneurs. And the third generation entrepreneurs who are maybe much more younger, they bring in more, what do I say, a different aspect of running the business. So my understanding is dealing with the promoter is an inevitable part of the senior leadership of a family managed business. So let me put that point very clearly. If you are running a family managed, if you're part of a family managed business where the family is still involved in executive capacity, which means that they are taking a lot of business decisions. The managers who are directly reporting to the family have got a much bigger job on hand, or much tougher task on hand. And the reason why I say that is because they have to deal with the ups and downs of managing the family, because it's not easy to manage the family and the ups and downs, because they have grown in the business and they live, breathe, and eat and do everything about the business only. So for them, like, everything is that, their life is that, and dealing with the family is hence very tough. And on the other hand, what they are also expected to do is, to their team, who's not directly exposed to the family, they are supposed to show a much more professional face of the organization and try to create some kind of a culture, and hence it becomes a more difficult task. So I agree with your point, and I think it's a slow process. I have seen companies which have slowly yet steadily migrated into a much more professional way of doing business. In India, nowadays there is a huge focus on building the right kind of competencies in in the family members of the family managed business. So, for example, ISB has a competency center for family managed business. They have there is a professor by the name Kavil Ramachandra. He runs a family managed setup in basically Hyderabad ISB, and a lot of families have sent their next gen people there, and to understand and expose themselves to some of the global best practices of running a family managed business. Apart from that, there are many companies now who are actually working very actively with family managed business and helping them outgrow themselves. Many a times what happens is family managed businesses also get stuck at a particular level of growth because of the way they have always run the business. So now there are many companies that I personally know of who are actually accelerating family companies and actually professionalizing and maybe helping create the right mindset in the founders of the family managed companies so that they transition onto this kind of a journey. But yeah, if they are not into some of these, then they will learn by experiences and it is going to take time. But thanks, Deepak, for sharing some great points there. Anil, to the point that you mentioned, I think having this open conversation and appointing a devil's advocate in the room is a supremely powerful idea, because many a times what happens is you have to encourage a different point of view in the room by design. You can't expect it to happen by default. Otherwise, you will walk into an echo chamber wherein everybody is just agreeing to each other, because people are slightly uncomfortable to express dissent to their leaders. But if you kind of appoint a devil's advocate in the room when you are taking some critical discussions or decisions, and say that, boss, your job is to be the devil's advocate, which means that you will challenge us in the decisions that we take, so that we consider all points of views on the table and just don't get blinded by what we do. So I think it again creates a great, what do I say, inclusivity angle in this whole business decision taking process. And the people will say कि हाँ यार, company का culture बहुत inclusive है, लोगों को सुनते हैं, लोगों के points of views को accept करते हैं. So these are some aspects here. So any thoughts before I move forward?
No, more than that, what happens is when you allow the people to air their views and their understanding, the alignment becomes easy. Once you take a decision, people are more than committed to align with whatever decision. They may agree with it, they may not agree with the decision, but they have taken a joint decision. So that alignment
Yeah.
will become a very enabler for the execution type.
Yes, allowing people, to express their opinion. Many a time people uh, develop a grudge because nobody has heard them. Maybe they'll accept what you're saying, but they at least want to say something that they have to say. By allowing people that opportunity to express themselves, you have won half the battle. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. So let me move forward. So the multi-level impact of leadership. So mid-level leaders may not influence top management, but they create powerful micro cultures within their team. These cultures influence performance, collaboration, and morale. As leaders move laterally or upward, they carry culture forward across teams and functions. इसका मतलब ये है कि बॉस कंपनी का एक कल्चर होता है, राइट? बट हर टीम का आप भी अपना थोड़ा सा अलग कल्चर होता है, एंड दैट इज ऑल इंडिविजुअल ड्रिवन एंड मैनेजर ड्रिवन. So I think the role of managers is very important in driving some culture within the team that they have. Maybe this open culture, etc., may not have been expressed by your company, but maybe Anil, you are following it, and that is creating some great bonding and glue amongst your team members. So the point is, every manager has got a role to play, and you have to create the right kind of culture for your team. So senior leadership influences, senior leader must align. Yeah, this is, we talked about it, right? So top leaders act as guardians and governors of culture, ensure consistency. Culture must not dilute across teams or geographies, right? And senior leaders must align board and stakeholders and cultural. So I think we kind of covered it and how important it is, the role of senior leaders in leaders as coaches. I think I would like to spend some time on this very important topic. Many a times, we think that as a manager, my job is to, get performance out of my team members. But it is a very, very important aspect that many leaders or managers have overlooked for longest period of time. There are very few managers or leaders in the company who actually act as coaches. And coaching people is, I think, the most important job of any manager in an organization. So I'll just take a pause. It's an important point I'm trying to make, because you as a manager are not doing anything literally. You're managing team. You may have some things to do, but there is a lot of heavyweight lifting that your team is doing on your behalf, and your performance is dependent on your team performance. So it is but natural for a manager to find ways and means by which you can identify the gaps in the performance of people and help them overcome those gaps through active coaching process. By doing this, what happens is you create a culture where people feel looked after and cared after, and people understand and believe that the manager is also vested in my success, and it creates a different kind of a bond between the manager and the team, and it really helps in driving not only the stability and attachment and all that, but a great performance amongst the team. So any thought, folks, around this point before I move forward? Any example of your personal experience that you want to share, where some person has acted as a great coach for you, it really helped you and shaped your experience as a professional? Any thoughts around it? No thoughts?
There are many, but it will become a one-to-one discussion. So I encourage
No,
others to speak.
yeah, thanks, Anil. I appreciate. Anyone wants to share their experience on this topic? Maybe I'll call out some name, maybe uh, Ajisinta Mary, or maybe Prashanti, or Rutujas, anyone, Amit Mirazkar, any one of you want to share any thoughts on this topic? I'll just take a 10-second pause. No one has got anything to share?
I think I'll just share something which is I work for Red Bull currently, and it's pretty. I mean, this word coach is like even which is like Neva head is basically called as head coach, and because they believe in the coaching culture and like they believe that like even if it's an ASM or RSM, their role is mainly to coach the team, and like as you rightly said that HR is more of an enabler in the culture. So like in our company, like we have kind of two modules which we do every year. One which is the amplify performance, which is the performance development goals and kind of performance goals and discussion on around that. And one is kind of like we do a group discussion wherein we find out what is important for an individual in the organization. Like, is it mastery of what is doing, or is it relatedness to the senior management, or is it freedom and responsibility, which is like, well, like how much he ranks those things. And based on that, then we decide that as a team, where should the focus area should be overall, and like what is kind of motivating them to perform in their role. So it's more of a like it's the module, it's an enabling module by HR, which is driven, and that's how they want the culture to be. Like it's more of a coaching culture. Like even if we do a market visit with the sales people on the field, it's more of a coaching thing. So we kind of have a in the handheld, we have to give them kind of feedback कि यहाँ पे क्या सही कर रहे हो, क्या गलत कर रहे हो, कहाँ पे improve करना है, in a way. So it's more of like that.
Oh, super. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Gaurav, for sharing that.
Thanks.
So, yeah, anyone else? It's a very important aspect, for all of you to think about, because if you as leaders start acting like coaches, a lot of you would have actually taken care of a lot of issues about the organization culture, because this is one of the best things you can do, to build the right culture in your organization, because you would actually have demonstrated that quality of caring for your people, supporting them, hand-holding them, and moving them in their performance journey. And that is a real value add, you can bring for any person. Cool. So I'll move forward. So building psychological safety, I think we talked about it, but I'll reinforce this point. Encourage experimentation, open dialogue, learning from failure. Safe teams are more innovative and adaptable. So there was, one research which was done some time back, wherein it was observed that the Korean Airlines was facing the most number of fatal air crashes, okay, in the 90s or so. And one of the reasons why, it was happening was because of the behavior that was happening in the cockpit between the captain and the deputy, right? There was a power distance at play, because in Korean culture there is a lot of, what do I say, deference towards authority, and a first captain, what do you call, flight lieutenant would never have anything to say in contrary to what the captain is saying to him or her. So this particular, what do I say, situation of power distance was creating a a problem whereby if a junior flight lieutenant, if he is observing certain problems in the aircraft performance or the course or whatever decisions the main captain was taking, that person never had the courage to stand up and say things which were in contrary to what the captain was suggesting. So this particular deferential attitude towards higher ups is called as the power distance, and it basically creates a situation where people don't feel safe to speak out. And this particular aspect was attributed as one of the biggest reasons for fatal air crashes in Korean Airways. Can you believe it? So what happened was the Korean Airlines was actually the pilots were trained to start speaking in English basically because the Korean language had too many nuances of respect and authority and all those things, while English is a more direct language. So you address a person as a you. You never bother ki aap wo tu hai ki tum hai ki aap hai ki whatever it is. So they were trained, to basically first talk in English. Secondly, they were trained how to express their point of view, even if it isn't contrary to what the captain was saying. This really helped in changing the situation in the Korean Airlines. And there was a black box which was identified in a fatal air crash, where the captain was making a mistake, and the lieutenant was actually seeing that he was making a mistake. Instead of asking the captain not to do it, he made a very indirect remark saying that, captain, in the past, we have done these things differently. Instead of saying, don't do it this way, it can harm us. Eventually, that flight went on to, have a crash. All the people died, and then they recovered the black box. So the point I'm trying to make is, as leaders, it is very important for you to create a situation where people can express themselves. Anil talked about it openly, freely, and they can express a contrary point of view without feeling, that they will be victimized or targeted for bringing in a different point of view. Any thought, folks, around it before I move forward? Okay, so I'll move on. So embedding culture in the talent process. So hire for recruitment is one part where you look at whether the person actually fits, has the right kind of values or not. Don't just look at shortcuts and get somebody just for the skills that they possess, because if the values are not right, then it will pose a bigger challenge for you. Onboarding, immerse them in the cultural values, reward aligned behaviors, and recognize culture champions. So yeah, these are all the metrics and stuff like that. Engagement, turnover, collaboration, tools or surveys, pulse checks, 360-degree feedback. So these are some of the challenges and pitfalls. Treating culture as an HR initiative only. So don't do that. You have to own up the culture of your team, understand the organization's values and culture, ensure that down the line in your team as well, to the most beginning level, people understand all these things. Demonstrate these values consistently. Don't be in a situation where sometimes you are shown or seen to be demonstrating these values. Sometimes you're seen to be, violating these values and culture. That will give a very confused and mixed situation for your team. So constant communication, clear values, and leadership accountability. So these are some of the emerging work cultures. We have a hybrid and flexible working team. So the challenge in front of all of you would be to ensure that people in hybrid setups also continue to embrace the values of the organization, right? There is a lot of focus on inclusion, belonging, and stuff like that. We are becoming Most organizations are trying to become more purpose driven and they are becoming value led organizations. And all the organizations are somewhere embracing technology increasingly more and more. So how do you ensure that you are able to integrate all these aspects in your culture? What do I say? Creation or percolation or assimilation in your organization. Yeah, so that's it from my side. My final thought and call to action to all of you is identify one behavior you will model starting next week. Your leadership shapes culture. Start today, impact tomorrow. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it. So yeah, that's it from my side. So Ravi, I open it to you for any Q&A, any other thoughts from members. And there are, if everyone is good, and if you want to kind of wrap it up, we can do that. So I open it up to you.
So I just would like to understand from the audience if they have anything to discuss or any feedback from the audience. Okay, I
I would
think
just say that just 2 words of mine. It was very, thank you for the very insightful session. I think you touched on, it was multifaceted and very comprehensive. And yeah, really thankful for that.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Samir.
Thank you, Vikas, for your insight, experience, and wisdom. Whatever we know, it has been built even better by your experience and your insight. Thank you so much for all. It was very nice.
Thank you, Anilji.
Okay, anyone else? I guess no. So yeah, we can now wrap it up. I think the time is also closing up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Had a great time discussing with all of you. And
And
best of luck.
specifically also, I would like to genuinely thank you for your availability and to the engaging talk that you have made just now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a
Bye.
great weekend, everyone.